Radio on marijuana election night for up-to-the-minute coverage of marijuana votes across the country. You'll know the first results from Washington, D.C., Oregon, and Alaska legalization, Guam and Florida medical marijuana, California defelonization, and city and county votes on legalization, decriminalization, dispensaries, and taxes from Maine, Massachusetts, Michigan, New Mexico, Colorado, and California. With special guests, Normal's Keith Stropp and Eric Altieri, Silver Tour's Robert Platshorn, Michigan Normal's Rick Thompson, Boston Pot Report's Keith Saunders, MPP's Morgan Fox, Leap's Diane Goldstein, California Normal's Ellen Komp, Washington Normal's Kevin Oliver, and 420 Radio's Herb Thrasher and Jennifer Alexander live at Oregon's Measure 91 campaign party. It's Marijuana Election Night 2014 on 420radio.org. Listen on the go by finding 420 Radio on the TuneIn Radio app for smartphone.
Now it's time for Toker Talk Radio, the voice of the marijuana nation.
What are you people? On dope?
Where you can toke.
I inhaled frequently.
Or you can talk.
I experimented with marijuana and didn't inhale.
Or you can toke and talk.
10 federal criminal penalties for possession of up to 1 ounce of marijuana.
While we talk about toke on Toker Talk Radio.
So, by the way, when it comes to pot, if you're 40 years old, you live in a log cabin in Oregon, you got 12 giant pot plants in your backyard, have a ball.
Live from beautiful Portland, Oregon at Rolla J Studios.
Hey, this is great.
Just not cannabis.
Plus your calls live at 971-533-7111.
They're walking on their pants with their cap on backwards, listening to Enema Man and Snoopy Poop Dog.
What's to keep somebody from getting all potted up on weed and then getting behind the wheel? Gateway theory doesn't work. It's a reality.
Holland, is it real? Don't tease me.
We're locking up people that take a couple of puffs of marijuana, and the next thing you know, they got 10 years.
And now, here's your host, the guru of ganja graphics, the sultan of sativa statistics, and the worst nightmare of a reefer-mad prohibitionist. A polite, perspicacious, productive pothead with a propensity for PowerPoint. Radical, Russ Belville.
All right, welcome back, everybody. It's Election Eve. We couldn't be more excited. I have a fine hand-rolled joint here from Anthony. And with a name like Hashem, it's got to be good. Thanks, guys. Have yourselves a great trip. Have fun. They'll be running into Herb Thrasher tomorrow night, certainly at the Measure 91 party at Holocene. They'll be filming there, so we'll get them on live. They'll be talking to Herb. It'll be a good time for everyone. I hope you're all as excited about the election as I am, and if you're living in a state that's not voting in marijuana election night, understand that you can still help. You can still help with get out the vote efforts. You can phone bank. You get a hold of the Measure 91 campaign here in Oregon, for example. They're at voteyeson91.com, and no matter where you live, you can do a phone bank and call people and make sure they've turned their ballots in. We've passed the time here in Oregon where you can mail it in. We're a completely mail-in vote state. And there's more of them now, like Washington State's doing it now and a couple others. But we vote completely by mail. It's too late to send it in by mail. But they have ballot drop-off locations at every county seat, at every public library, just about in every town. Absolutely. So just check out the Secretary of State's office if you need any help. But you'll have to turn your ballot in by hand now at this point. And you've got until 8 o'clock tomorrow night to get that ballot turned in. I want every single ballot turned in. I don't want to hear a story of someone said, oh shit, I forgot to mail it in. And it's odd. Here in Portland, there's a surprising number of people, or Oregon, I should say, a surprising number of people who get their ballot, who open it up, who fill it out, and then forget to mail it back in. Forget to turn it in on election day. And that's just inexcusable. I can understand like one day not having a stamp or something, but man, that's your vote. And I was mentioning this with Anthony. I was mentioning it with the guys earlier. Sorry, Adam and Anthony. Sorry, spaced for a second because I was looking for a lighter at the same time. My brain couldn't handle the multitasking. But I was mentioning this to them as well about young people in the vote. And I thought that Anthony brought up a really good point in that everybody looks at the presidential election because that's the big star marquee A-list election, right? Everybody cares about who the president's going to be, whose team gets to be the president, the red team or the blue team. When really, who's the president might have the lowest impact on your day-to-day life of anybody you vote for. I mean, really, the president handles foreign policy, signs bills, runs the executive, DOJ, appoints Supreme Court people. So when it comes to, I guess now if you look at it that way, there's an impact on our life. You know, nominating Supreme Court justices and running the Department of Justice. I can tell you that if it were President McCain or President Romney, I don't think we'd have as hands-off approach toward the legalization of marijuana as we're having now from President Obama. Now, you know, I voted for Obama. I was an Obama supporter. I'm not as enamored of him these days. But I definitely can see politically that we're better off with Obama than we would have been with the other two, solely on the issue of marijuana legalization. So as we move forward here, I thought his point, Anthony's point about the midterm elections was really a good one. And that is, it may have more elections in it that affect your day-to-day life than does the presidential election. I know for sure here in Oregon it does, since we're legalizing weed. But it can also affect, who your state rep is. Who's going to be voting when we try to pass one of those laws to have the feds stop their raids on medical marijuana. Those votes, whether those kind of things pass or not, can depend a lot on who you vote for tomorrow. There's also that fear I have about the turnout. This midterm election is really about turnout as far as legalization goes. And will we get young people who overwhelmingly favor legalization? The latest Survey USA poll was like 71% between the ages of 18 and 35 support legalization. Unfortunately, they're the ones that vote the least. And that's just like kind of the mantra every 4 years that we have the midterm election, is what low turnout there'll be amongst young people. I believe marijuana legalization being an issue that primarily impacts young people. 1 out of 3 people between the ages of 18 and 20 smokes marijuana monthly. That's the peak. That's the age at which it peaks. Those are the people that need to be voting for their own freedom. We'll see how it turns out.
What's to keep somebody from getting all potted up on weed and then getting behind the wheel?
The Russ Belville Show reminds you to never smoke and drive impaired. Hang out for a while. Share.
You can get 420 Radio on the go with our Shoutcast stream for all internet-enabled media players. Go to rad-r.us/420shout or just click the Shoutcast icon below the live radio feed at 420.
Voting yes on 2 will allow doctors to recommend the medicine they feel will ease the pain and suffering of thousands of sick Floridians. Yes on 2 allows medical marijuana use under the strict supervision of a doctor, only for debilitating conditions and diseases such as cancer and MS. 23 states now keep government and politicians out of the doctor-patient relationship, and it's worked. Vote yes on 2 and trust our doctors to do what's best.
420radio.org is proud to replay Stony Sundays with Coral Reefer from San Francisco, California. Cannabis patient and activist Coral Reefer is one of the most popular marijuana personalities on YouTube. Her Stony Sundays and News Nugs entertain and educate the audience. Catch the replays on Monday at 1 Pacific here on...
Treating marijuana use as a crime has not worked. I have reviewed the language of Measure 91, and it's very well written. I think it's a good bill.
Measure 91 regulates marijuana for adults, so police have time to fight serious, violent, and unsolved crime.
And here in Washington, wasteful arrests down, DUIs down, drug prevention programs are getting funds. Strict regulations are working. Here, it's really better, already. Vote yes on 9.
Welcome back, everyone. 11 after the hour. That's Julia Lee and her boyfriends with Lotus Blossoms, Sweet Marijuana. One of the great early 20th century tracks that we play every Monday on the new Viper Hour at 5 and 8 o'clock. Great stuff. Love this old music, the blues, the jazz, the swing. That really was the melting pot and the incubator, if you will. Maybe not both at the same time. Baby stew. No, but the melting pot and the incubator, let's just go with it, of our cannabis culture. I mean, these were the first guys, Cab Calloway, they were singing about the reefer man. They were talking about the jive, the tea, the population that popularized marijuana use in the early 20th century. That's what we feature on the new Viper Hour, 5 and 8 a.m. and p.m. Pacific Time on 420radio.org. All right, welcome back, and we got tickets here. If you want to go see Mile High, the documentary those gentlemen were just talking about, I got some tickets, and it's at the Academy Theater tonight. So hit me up on Twitter at Radical Russ. If you're in Portland and want to go see this tonight, I got 9 tickets, and willing to give 4 away to one person and 4 away to the other, and I'll keep 1 for myself. So just let me know at Radical Russ if you're here in Portland and can use them. All right, so welcome back. It's Election Eve here on 420 Radio. Tomorrow's coverage begins at our regularly scheduled time at 3 p.m. Pacific, 6 p.m. Eastern. And we've got the big board up showing us the different marijuana election night coverage that we'll be bringing you. Let me move that to the big board for one moment. We'll test this out. See if y'all can hear me over at the big board. All right. Oh, that one's not on. Let's try that again. All right, here we are in front of the big board here for our election night coverage. Just give this a test out. Thank you, folks, for joining us. Sorry to make it all wiggle and wobble there. Just make sure this works. But we've got coverage coming up tonight or tomorrow. Washington, D.C. will be voting on Initiative 71. This is legalization without tax and regulation, just plain legalization. So this will be an interesting vote. Florida's yes on 2. Now, we are predicting at 420 Radio that the Washington, D.C. will be an easy pass. The polls look really positive on this one. Be pretty hard-pressed to see this one not pass. So we're going to go with a vote of pass here on our 420 Radio Big Board prediction. Yes on 2 in Florida faces a more difficult route to make it to the ballot. With yes on 2 in Florida, we are looking at a need for 60% to be able to pass as a constitutional amendment. 60%. This is a very hard number to come up with. And I believe that this 60% for the type of medical marijuana that is being proposed in Florida would be a hard number to get in a West Coast state. We're talking about medical marijuana that has what I call the California clause, that a doctor could recommend marijuana for any condition that he or she believes that cannabis can alleviate. Now, I agree with that in a medical sense. Absolutely, doctors should have as much discretion to recommend marijuana as they do any other prescription. Even more so, as it's not as dangerous as most of those prescriptions. However, we are talking about trying to get something to pass. And too many people have too many bad frames around California medical marijuana. For Yes on 2 in Florida to pass, it's going to need 60%. I don't think that it can come up with that 60%. Predicting that Yes on 2 will probably fail. Maybe with a high 50% vote. Maybe we're talking 58, 57. But hard for me to envision a scenario where Yes on 2 pulls over 60%. I really hope I'm wrong. Please, Florida, prove me wrong. Next, we'll have Guam's medical marijuana proposal. Really shooting in the dark on this one for Guam because I don't know much about the politics in Guam, haven't seen any polls. I'm just going with my gut. I'm going to give a pass to Guam's proposal 14A. That's my prediction for where that one will end up. Next, we would be looking at, well, the state of Oregon. And the latest poll, Survey USA, which I believe comes in as a very accurate predictor, comes in at 52-41. That's an 11-point margin. I do not see the no side being able to sway almost all the independents, all the don't knows, over to their side. I think Oregon's Measure 91 passes with 52, perhaps 53% of the vote. We're going to give that a pass. Next, we would look at Proposition 47 in California. Proposition 47 would defelonize certain low-level offenses, including drug possession, petty theft, things like that, so that people aren't saddled with felony records. They would just get misdemeanor records. Doesn't go as far enough, but it is in the right direction. Polls are very, very promising on Proposition 47. I believe Proposition 47 will pass. We also have some of the local votes that we'll be looking at. And in these local votes, we will be talking about Maine legalization in Lewiston and South Portland, two cities, following on Portland, the largest city in Maine, having legalized in a previous election. These both look very promising. I believe that we will have a pass on both of these measures. We also have Michigan decriminalization that will be happening. Michigan is 16-0 in presenting decriminalization language on its ballot. I see no reason for that streak to be broken. I think all of the Michigan decrims will pass. Looking to Massachusetts public policy questions. Again, pretty good record on the public policy questions in Massachusetts. I think we could get a pass on all of these on election night. Now, looking at some other votes, we've got the Alaska, Yes on 2. Polls are not looking promising in Alaska. This is going to be a nail-biter. It's a toss-up. It could be a pass. It could be a fail. I'm going to swing my vote. I thought it was going to fail. I think this is going to come in 50 point something. Like 50.2, 50.8. We might not know on election night if this passes. This might be recount level close. But just for the good feeling of it, we're going to put a pass there for Alaska's Yes on 2. We'll also be covering 28 different votes, and we've color-coded them. Green are marijuana tax votes that generally I think we'd be against. Reds are bans on pot shops or moratoriums, and we would be against those as well. The ones left in black would allow pot shops in various cities in Colorado. We would be for those. Can't tell you how they're going to turn out. And in California, same color coding, mostly with respect to medical marijuana dispensary bans, grow restrictions, and marijuana taxes. We'll have it all for you on Marijuana Election Night, starting tomorrow at 3 p.m. Pacific on 420radio.org.
I picked the wrong week to quit sniffing glue.
All right, so there's our Marijuana Election Night. Looks like the camera slipped a little bit. Bacon Dan's calling in next with our daily Toker tunes for Roots Monday. This is a good one. We're going to go R&B style for a while. Stick around. You can get 420 Radio on the go with the TuneIn Radio app for all mobile platforms. Go to rad-r.us/420tunein or just click the TuneIn Radio icon below the live radio feed on...
Oh, hi! I didn't see you there. My name's Ryan, and I'm just your average young voter. You caught me in my shop here, chopping wood. You know, when I'm chopping wood, I like to be safe. You know what else is safe? Legalizing and regulating marijuana. That's why I'm voting yes on Measure 91.
Cannabis Seeds, we pride ourselves on bringing you the best quality seeds from the world's most respected cannabis seed producers, all at the lowest online prices. You can find Herbie's seeds at herbiesheadshop.com. All cannabis seeds are sold as souvenirs and as a means of preserving cannabis genetics. Herbie's Seeds in no way intends to condone, promote, or incite the use of illegal or controlled substances. We strongly urge all prospective customers to check their national laws prior to placing an order. Herbie's Seeds at herbiesheadshop.com. Proud sponsors of the Russ Belville Show and 420 Radio.
Everyone knows music and marijuana go together, so let's wind up our 20 after break with the Russ Belville Show's Daily Toker Tunes, the best in pod-safe 420 music from around the web. Today is Roots Monday, featuring the blues, country, folk, and jazz music that birthed the modern sounds we enjoy today. Now, sit back and enjoy your Daily Toker Tune.
All right, welcome back, everyone. 23 after the hour, and to answer Aftershock Phil's question, I don't know about the Washington tax one. I don't even know if that's one I'm supposed to be for or against. It's really complex, but we'll talk to Kevin Oliver about that tomorrow and find out more. Welcome back to our Daily Toker Tunes break. I hope you got something green and enjoyable, because we got Bacon Dan on the line, who's brought us something blue and enjoyable. How you doing, Dan?
I'm doing great. I didn't think I was going to get to call in today, but I kind of finagled my schedule, and I had to pick a really good song on the eve of legalization.
I know. You got to be excited coming out from the East Coast to actually be in a state where it could be legal.
It's mind-blowing. I mean, I was so proud, sending in my vote, and we're doing a special 9 p.m. Who's the Ross tomorrow for the election edition. So, we'll be there to celebrate one way or another, man.
All right. Hey, I have tickets to Mile High, the comeback of cannabis at the Academy Theater. Got 9 of them. If you know anyone that wants to go tonight at 7 p.m., I got the tickets.
Oh, that's far out. I will definitely make some calls.
Okay. All right. So today by the way, Bacon Dan got himself a new job at the Apple Store and couldn't be prouder of him. How are things at the Apple Store?
It's fantastic. It's such a good fit. I'm really, really loving it, and they're all for, to have outside of work stuff. So, I still as dedicated to 420 Radio as always, and there's some discounts coming my way that I'm looking forward to passing on to making our station even better.
Yay, a Mac for video editing with Final Cut Pro, perhaps?
I think that might have to be in the works, my friend.
Looking forward to that. All right, so let's get to the tunes because, this one goes back to the day, even before the day of the day, and it's one of my favorite tunes from one of my favorite groups, so why don't you tell us about it?
Well, growing up as such a Blues Brothers fan like I am, Sam and Dave was introduced to me at a very early age. This is probably, next to Skullman, my favorite song they ever did. Of course, backing them up are the Stackful recording artists Steve the Colonel Cropper and Donald Duck Dunn, my all-time favorite bassist.
I hear that. Yeah, I got that Blues Brothers Briefcase Full of Blues album when I was a kid. It was one of the first things I learned to play bass to was Duck Dunn's bass lines.
I still have that both on vinyl and on CD, and it never leaves my side. I love that album.
Wonderful album. So yeah, Hold On, I'm Coming is the tune. Sam and Dave are the artists. You don't get much better than that. And hold on, America, we're coming in. Hold on, Washington and Colorado, we're coming. We're coming to make it legal here in Oregon, aren't we?
Absolutely.
All right, here it goes. Let's get it on. You can get 420 Radio on the go with the TuneIn Radio app for all mobile platforms. Go to rad-r.us/420tunein or just click the TuneIn Radio icon below the live radio feed on.
Mike Schwab is a former middle school science and math teacher. Currently, he works with children daily as an after-school program leader.
Currently, kids have easy access to marijuana with little understanding of its impact. We can take better care of our kids through Measure 91 with strict regulations and funding for proven marijuana education and prevention programs to keep kids from using it. Under our current marijuana laws, one mistake can ruin a life. Measure 91 removes unfairly harsh punishment for marijuana offenses and gets more tax money to local police and drug prevention. Vote yes on 91.
Toker Talk Radio, weekdays at 4 and 7 Pacific on 420radio.org.
The law offices of Omar Figueroa would like to remind you to stand up for your rights. If you are detained or arrested, treat law enforcement with respect and stand up for your rights by repeating, "I respectfully invoke all of my legal and constitutional rights. I do not consent to any search and seizure. I want to remain silent, and I want to speak with my attorney." Please contact the law offices of Omar Figueroa at 415-489-0420 or 707-829-0215 or on the web at omarfigueroa.com.
Way down in West Virginia, there's some people who are one of a kind. They don't need nothing from nobody, 'cause they're already doing fine. You got Hassel, Atkins, Hunchins, and Mamie's raising hell. The legend of D-Ray White will never die like a rebel yell.
That's Hank Williams III with D-Ray White. You heard about the Whites from West Virginia? Was that on HBO? I can't remember what that was on, but oh my God, you got to check that out. 1:30 here on election eve, and everyone's excited about the vote, the potential for adding more states to the stable of legal states and medical states, having decrim votes all over the country. We're going to be here all night tomorrow, counting this down, poll by poll, state by state, time zone by time zone, with so many guests. If you're joining us late, check out our lineup for tomorrow's show. 6 hours. In our first hour, we'll have Keith Straub. He's going to give us the national rundown. Then in our second hour, we've got Stephen Gutwillig. He's from the Drug Policy Alliance. He's great. And then we've got in our second hour as well, Norm Stamper. He's going to be joining us from just off of his Reddit AMA, Ask Me Anything. In our third hour, starting at 8 o'clock Eastern, 5 o'clock Pacific. Yes, you finally get an hour 3, folks. We get Eric Altieri from Normal, starting our first segment. And our second segment, 15 after, Bobby Platshorn from Florida, giving us the breakdown of what's happening there. At 8:30, we've got Rick Thompson from Michigan, breaking down 11 decrim votes that are going there. 8:45, Keith Saunders from Boston, breaking down what's going on in the Massachusetts public policy questions. At 9 o'clock, Art Way from Colorado. He's a marijuana policy project. 9 o'clock Art Way. 9:15 Morgan Fox and David Boyer from Marijuana Policy Project, breaking down Maine for us. 9:30 Emily Kaltenbach from New Mexico Drug Policy Alliance, breaking down the New Mexico decrim votes. 9:45 Police Chief Larry Kirk from Law Enforcement Against Prohibition just finished a 10-day tour of Alaska. He's going to give us a preview of the Alaska vote. Then we'll hit 10 o'clock Eastern, 7 o'clock Pacific time. That's when Herb Thrasher and Jennifer Alexander will be making their way to the Measure 91 celebration party here in Oregon at Holocene. So they will be there with all sorts of guests, just live candid interviews with, I'm sure Anthony Johnson will be there, and Amanda Ryman from Drug Policy Alliance will be there. So many folks. So we'll be going back and forth to them all throughout the 10 o'clock Eastern hour and recapping what happened in the previous votes. So you can check that out, 10 o'clock Eastern, 7 o'clock Pacific time. As we get to 11 o'clock Eastern, that's 8 o'clock Pacific, that's when the polls close here in Oregon, and we should have some knowledge of whether or not we will be passing marijuana legalization here in Oregon. Herb Thrasher will be live at the Measure 91 party as they get the election results. 8:15 Pacific, 11:15 Eastern. Diane Goldstein from LEAP, breaking down California's Prop 47. Ellen Komp at 8:30 from California Normal. She'll be breaking down California's various proposition votes, the local votes on marijuana taxes and dispensary bans and so forth. At 8:45, Kevin Oliver from Washington will explain the agricultural tax preference vote. how that impacts the community. Then at 9 o'clock Pacific time, that's midnight Eastern, the polls close in Alaska. I'm still tracking down my Alaska reporter. I've got a couple of leads out. We'll get someone to talk to us from Alaska. And don't forget, we'll be opening the show 3 o'clock Pacific time, 6 o'clock Eastern, with the results from Guam. You'll know whether or not the island territory of Guam has medical marijuana. That's coming up on our marijuana election night. All right, so as we get back to the show here, you've been looking at this map here with purple and gray states on it. This is from the Americans for Safe Access and their grade of House members in the United States House of Representatives, the darkest purple being the best grades. Now, no state's representatives got an A. The best you could get was a B. California got a B. Washington got a B, and so forth. The lighter purple is a C, D for the kind of mid-purple like Montana and Minnesota, an F for the light, lavender, mostly the southern states and Utah, and then no grade for the states in gray. And so they're putting this up. This is at votemedicalmarijuana.org, I believe is the website. Let me check that out again. I think I tweeted it out. But anyway, votemedicalmarijuana.org. And you can click on your state to find out who your House rep is, who's running, your representative, and you can find out what their grade is to decide whether or not you want to vote for this person. So this could be a really helpful tool for you before you head out to the ballot tomorrow. Medical marijuana, votemedicalmarijuana.org is the website. Let me make sure I'm absolutely sure about that. Votemedicalmarijuana.org. Votemedicalmarijuana.org will take you to the Safe Access site. Votemedicalmarijuana.org, and there you go. So I'm going to click on Oregon, and for Oregon, it's going to take me to a page where we can get the grades. And there's no grade on my governors or my senators, but down here in the House, House District 1, Suzanne Bonamici gets a B. In District 2, Greg Walden, the Republican incumbent, gets a D. My representative, Earl Blumenauer, Democrat from Portland, A+, ladies and gentlemen, A+. Thank you. Thank you for the enthusiasm. Peter DeFazio in District 4, A+. Very good, very good. Kurt Schrader, Democrat, District 5, he's got a B. Okay. So you can use this for whichever state you may live in. Say Utah, perhaps, where you would find that the District 1 Republican gets an F, the District 2 Republican gets a B, the District 3 Republican gets a D, and there's no grade for District 4. It might be a new district. VoteMedicalMarijuana.org. Thanks to American for Safe Access for creating this. Very useful. All right, so going back to the election. There's so many different ways this could break out for us. Let me play worst case scenario for you. Washington, D.C. is going to pass. This is a lock. Guaranteed. No doubt it passes. So, and if Washington, D.C. passes too, it's kind of a, let's see what the Congress does about that. Because, Washington, D.C. is a special case. It's completely governed by the federal government. So they could choose to put an injunction on it, or who knows. So let's take Washington off the board for a second. So we're talking about Florida, Oregon, and Alaska. Those are the three, Florida, Oregon, and Alaska, that people are going to be caring about. Florida, I think, is going to fail. I'm not going to say it's a lock because turnout is everything in this one. But 60% is a high bar to clear. Oregon and Alaska are both close. Now, I think Oregon's going to pass. I think Alaska is going to be too close to call. But what if they both fail? What if we end up with a situation where all three states, 3 up, 3 down. Or in football, a 3 and out. How will that change the debate? How will that change the momentum of legalization? How would we have to respond to that? I know how our opponents will. They'll say, aha, see, we tried it in Colorado and Washington, and people have recognized that it's a failure and they don't want it in their state, and soundly rejected the expansion of marijuana. To their side, 2014 will be the year that they turned the tide in their minds. Florida, Oregon, and Alaska all going down would mean the next 2 years of activism would be the most intense ever. Because having 3 victories like that, it won't be Sheldon Adelson anymore who's the only one contributing money and not to just one state. They're going to recognize that, oh, hey, we can win this fight. We can save our businesses in pharmaceuticals and oil for just a little longer. And the next 2 years will be tough. And not just for any state trying to get medical marijuana, but for the ones that already have it. For the ones that have legalization, it'll get tough. This will be sensed and played like a mandate, like a shift in public opinion. Places that have moratoriums will be able to make them bans. Places that had bans will start making them worse. And the feds, with that kind of green light, with Obama in a lame duck term, with having bigger fish to fry, with the House and the Senate likely going to Republican hands, will he allow the feds? Will we get thrown under the bus for him to save some political points with what he feels to be a more conservative electorate heading toward a 2016 election where perhaps Hillary Clinton is the standard bearer for the Democrats and less waves need to be made? That's how important 2014 is, folks. That's how important this vote is. And if you haven't used didtheyvote.org, didtheyvote.org is this great app. You can run it through your Facebook. It finds your Oregon friends, and it gives you a chance to send them a note to say, hey, turn in your ballot. Every vote counts for this election. Now, that's a worst case scenario. 2014 of Alaska, Florida, and Oregon all failing. I think the realistic prediction is Alaska and Florida failing, Oregon winning. I think that's realistic. I think Oregon's going to win this. The good prediction is Oregon and Alaska win. And then the dream come true is all 3 of them come through. Of course. Now, if we got the dream come true scenario, all 3 of them come through, phew, man, next 2 years are going to be fun. Prohibitionists are going to be just biting off their hindquarters trying to escape the bear traps. It's going to be beautiful. We'll have 4 legal states heading into 2016 and 4 years worth of data from the first 2 legal states. Florida having medical will start the South just tipping over. Yeah, if we get that best case scenario, things are great for the next couple of years. Let's hope that happens. We'll be here to find out.
Elitist. Just like any other dishwashing, burger flipping, public school educated, self-employed, bar band musician, National Guardsman, he's Radical Russ.
You can get 420 Radio on the go with the Ustream video app for Android and iPhone. Go to rad-r.us/420Ustream or just click the Ustream app icon for Android or iPhone below the live radio feed at 420radio.org. Growing plants indoors can be a rewarding hobby, but electricity bills can go through the roof. Then you have to cool down all those big hot lights. It can drive a grower insane. With Lush LED lighting, you can solve many of these issues and double your rewards. Matt and his scientists have developed the perfect light for flowering plants with far less cost and heat. And the results? Very effective. Check out LushLEDlighting.com right now. District Attorney Josh Markey from the No on Measure 91 campaign worries about marijuana DUIDs.
Although traffic fatalities have been falling in Colorado for about 7 years, the causation versus correlation, we're not sure. But we do know one thing in Colorado. The number of people testing positive for THC in fatal accidents is up 100%. Marijuana is very difficult to measure. And one of the things Measure 91 doesn't have, like Washington does, is a presumptive level. And THC has some very peculiar qualities that make it very difficult to determine for law enforcement if somebody's intoxicated.
Josh Markey says it's difficult to measure THC intoxication because of its peculiar qualities. Then he complains that Measure 91 doesn't have a presumptive limit for measuring THC intoxication. Yet on March 21st, Markey won a DUID conviction against a 19-year-old man with no active THC in his system, who Markey himself said, quote, "In fairness, I can't say this guy was entirely under the influence of marijuana," end quote. Seems like law enforcement already has all the tools it needs to enforce marijuana DUID that is already illegal. Oregon has had tens of thousands of medical marijuana patients for over a decade now. If marijuana was going to affect road safety, we'd have seen it by now. Yet Oregon's traffic fatality rate is equal to Colorado's. Both states' traffic fatalities have been falling for years, and our rates are 23% lower than the U.S. average. Measure 91 dedicates tax revenue for the study of marijuana-intoxicated driving and increased patrols. Vote yes on Measure 91. It's a sensible approach. This advertisement produced by the Russ Belville Show and is not sponsored or endorsed by the Yes on Measure 91 campaign.
My name is Ryan Dazel, and I work for a textile manufacturing company, and before that I used to be a farmer. I am a supporter of Measure 91, the legalization of marijuana here in Oregon, but not only for that, for the legalization of industrial hemp. Hemp is related to marijuana, but hemp is not a drug, and we still can't grow it here in Oregon. Measure 91 will fix that. Oregon is a great state to grow hemp. We have the right soil, the right climate, and it's a great cash crop for Oregon farmers. Anywhere you can grow corn, you can grow hemp, except no herbicides and minimal amount of pesticides are needed for this crop. The hemp clothing you see at the store and the hemp seed you see at the grocery store all comes from overseas and our neighbors from the north. That's money we could be keeping here in Oregon. Farming is a difficult business, and with a cash crop like hemp, it can make all the difference.
Welcome back, everyone. 48 after the hour. That's the Russ Morgan with the Dipsy Doodle. That music's from 1937, the year that marijuana prohibition was enacted. So there's something to that, isn't there? Got a call coming in from the 831 area code. You're on the air with Toker Talk Radio. What's up?
Hey, folks. This is John Thomas.
Hey, John. Glad to have you.
Hey, how's it going?
It's real good. We're excited out here. I spent the whole day cleaning up the studio for these guys coming in with their cameras and stuff, you know.
Right. I think the whole world is excited at this point.
I hope so. I hope we come through for them.
Hey, good. Hey, man, here's an idea. If Oregon wins, I think you should have the first annual 420 radio reunion to celebrate.
Hey, there's a good idea. You know, we, Carrie, you remember Cannabis Carrie?
Right.
We did a thing on Labor Day this year called Maria, the Marijuana Activist Retreat in Astoria. And it was a wonderful success. We had a couple of activists in, Sean and Andrea from Dallas-Fort Worth Normal, and Big Daddy Fink and his girlfriend came up from Georgia. And it was a lot of fun.
All right.
And, you know, just the freedom they felt to be able, even though it's not legal here, it's, you know, we have dispensaries and I can shop at them. So it was a lot of fun. I would love to do something similar and maybe rent like one of those beach houses, because the whole Oregon coast is public land. So
perfect.
And so you can get these beach houses that people rent out, and that would be a blast. I think you've got a really good idea there.
Perfect. I'll be there, and I'll bring the pizza.
Okay. Somebody's got to bring the pizza.
Anyway, that's my 2 cents, and I would love to do it. I'd love to see everybody, and I think it would be very special and a great tradition.
Yeah, we'd have to find a weekend, you know, that would work well. I always like to do these things that are a little bit out of the regular touristy season on the coast, like a late May but before Memorial Day thing. We'll have to figure it out.
Sounds good.
Yeah, we'll have to figure it out, because once summer hits, you got all the hemp fests and the summer cups and all that.
Yeah.
All right.
Give us our special time. Yeah.
We'll work on it.
Cool, man. Thanks.
Thank you, John Thomas. Thanks for supporting the show and listening and always being in there in the chat room. You know, I love doing this. The guys that were in here today, Adam and Anthony, they're like, wow, what a cool job. You know, what a cool place. You work in your own home, and oh, cool. You just talk about weed, and oh, how cool. And I'm like, I love getting that perspective, because sometimes, you know, any job has its grind, right? Any job. And today has been a particularly weird day for me. When I was young, I used to go to bed with sore muscles and wake up refreshed. Now, I go to bed refreshed and I wake up with sore muscles. It's like, I guess you know you're old when you injure yourself sleeping. Like, how in the hell is my shoulder killing me today? It's just the worst thing. So I had to hang everything up and clean up the place, and the shoulder was aching while I was doing it. But, you know, it's good to get confirmation sometimes that what I'm doing here makes a difference to some people. And to me, it's the quality of the listener, not necessarily the quantity. And, you know, this is, I make some really good friends doing this, and get some really good people that have great perspectives that, you know, will get acquainted enough with me, having listened to me day after day, to call me on bullshit if I bullshit sometimes. And it happens from time to time, like, you know, daily. No. See, that's bullshit. Now I've confused myself, stuck myself in a conceptual loop. But no, really, this is wonderful to be able to do this. And I hope, as marijuana becomes legalized here in Oregon, that it becomes an even bigger thing. And the dream I've got, see, let me take you back. I grew up in Nampa, Idaho. And Nampa, Idaho is statistically famous for only really one thing. Oh, wait, two things. Number one, the first African-American Playmate of the Year went to my high school in Nampa, Idaho. And she has an identical twin sister. Not making it up. Anyway, so that's one statistical thing. The other statistical thing Nampa, Idaho has is like the nation's, I think this is still true, I may be wrong, but I think it was the nation's largest sugar beet processing factory. That may be bullshit, but there you go. Ding. There's my bullshit for the day. But anyway, when I was a kid, it was a big deal because it was like in the outskirts of town. It was these big silo buildings, right? And these monstrous 10-story tall piles of sugar beets, right? And the other thing was that it stunk to high hell. Oh my God. The sugar beet factory smell. Oh my God. This is like when I drive back to Nampa to visit my folks, it's 35 miles over the Oregon border, just past Ontario, right? So you're just 35 miles away from Oregon. Man, every time I come back, it's like, smells like home. The sugar beet factory smell. And it always cracks me up. Whenever we get these stories about, my neighbor is growing medical cannabis and I can smell it from my backyard. I can smell the cannabis and I had to tell my children it was a skunk. It was terrible. When we get those stories, I'm like, really? I grew up in a town that stunk for 2 months out of the year. Stunk to high hell of sugar beet processing. Everywhere. Everybody's yard. And you want to complain about somebody's growing some weed. Okay. So anyway, I digress. So Nampa had the sugar beet factory. And another thing that it had was the cheese factory. Literally, it was a factory to make cheese. They brought in the milk and they make big old cheese. It's a Sargento factory now, I think. But back in the day, it was just the cheese factory. As a kid in Nampa, Idaho, I took like 3 field trips. One was to the state capitol. And we did that like, I don't know, in 2 or 3 different grades I was in. By the time we hit the 3rd time I did the state capitol tour, I was telling the tour guide things, right, of what they forgot, right? The other 2 field trips were to the cheese factory and the sugar beet factory. Now, the only notable thing about the sugar beet factory tour, aside from it stinking to high hell, was the day that I realized that marketing was bullshit. This was illustrated to me, I think it was 9 years old, when we go to the sugar beet factory and show, here's where the sugar beets come in, here's the vats that they process them in, here's where it boils off, and here's where they get the sugar, and here's the white sugar, right? Okay, cool. And then we went to this room where the sugar gets bagged. And there were these stacks of C&H bags, and Safeway bags, and Albertsons bags, and probably a whole bunch others that I forget, right? But the thing I remembered was they're all different brands of sugar. And so I asked, well, what's this? And they said, well, this is where we bag the sugar. I'm like, yeah, but everybody's brand of sugar is just the same sugar? And they said, well, yeah, sugar is sugar, kid. I'm like, but like the C&H sugar is like $1.39 and the Safeway sugar is like 99 cents. Yep. Oh. So that was like one of those life lessons that I learned as a little kid, right? At the sugar beet factory. That was probably, and maybe that I never, ever, ever wanted to be in a position where I had to take a job at the sugar beet factory. The cheese factory, on the other hand, is a whole different thing. The cheese factory was kind of cool because you went to the cheese factory and they'd show, there's dairy cows and here's the little milking things that they put on the teats and, here's they get the milk and here's the milk comes in here and they put it in the vat and these guys stir it and, and you get the cheese. And so you go through all that and it was always kind of interesting, right? And then at the end of it, they have like a shop. It's a cheese shop of all their stuff. It's their outlet store, their factory store, right? But as a kid, for you, it's like at the end of the cheese tour, free cheese, great, and they have the little squeaky cheese curds. I don't know, maybe my Wisconsin listeners know what I'm talking about. The squeaky cheese, yeah, it'd squeak on your, anyway. So as a kid, you'd get squeaky cheese curds and they'd have like little gift baskets and little, cheese flags or whatever. The whole point of this long story was my dream about Oregon with legalization. That's what I want. I want to have the weed factory. I want to have a place that has a big warehouse grow, that also has processing, trimmers and all that also has a retail store, but also a gift shop and a studio to do my live show. And people can come there and do a tour. They can tour and see marijuana being grown, marijuana being harvested, marijuana being trimmed, marijuana being packaged, edibles being made, concentrates being extracted, hash being made, whatever. They can see all of it on a tour. And at the end, they can buy their legal weed if they want to. If they're there at 3 p.m. Pacific, they can watch my show. The Weed Factory. Now I just need $2 million. Probably need more than that. But, you know, I know some people. Maybe we'll see what happens. I've dreamt before and things have come true. Maybe this comes true. All right, that's all the time we got for today. But remember, marijuana election night is tomorrow. Please tune in 3 p.m. Pacific, and then all night long we'll be covering all the votes. We got guests from everywhere calling in, NORML, DPA, MPP, and more. Also, didtheyvote.org. Use that for your Facebook friends. That's all the time. Thanks, everyone. Until next time, take care of each other, Tokers.
This is the Russ Belville Show. The Russ Belville Show is blogging and podcasting daily at radicalruss.com.
You take a seed, you plant it, you grow it, you dry it, you roll it, you smoke it. You take a seed, you plant it,